Today we're diving into the latest trade war developments, President Trump's new tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China, and how this whole situation is unfolding. Things got pretty heated, but at the last minute, some deals were made, sort of. So, let's break it all down. Here's what happened. Trump announced a 25% tariff on everything imported from Canada and Mexico, except for crude oil from Canada, which got a lower 10% tariff. Why? Because, let's be real, Canada supplies 60% of the oil the US needs. For China, Trump imposed a 10% tariff on all imports on top of existing ones. These were all set to take effect on February 4 at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Time. But why did Trump do this? Well, according to him, Canada and Mexico aren't doing enough to stop the flow of illegal immigrants and Chinese fentanyl coming into the US. His message: if you don't crack down, you're gonna pay for it, literally. Now, here's how things cooled off at the last second. Just before the deadline, Donald Trump, Justin Trudeau, and Claudia Sheinbaum got on a call. After some back and forth, they agreed to delay the tariffs by 30 days. Why did he do that? Canada and Mexico promised to step up efforts to stop illegal migration and drugs from crossing their borders. So, for now, no extra tariffs on Canadian and Mexican goods, but only for 30 days. But the China tariffs, they took effect as planned. And China hits back. Of course, China wasn't going to take this lying down. Their Ministry of Finance fired back, saying these tariffs violate World Trade Organization rules and will only hurt US-China trade. And in response, China retaliated. Starting February 10, 2025, China will impose new tariffs on top of the existing ones. 15% on coal and liquefied natural gas. 10% on crude oil, farm machinery, large engine cars, and pickup trucks. So yeah, this is turning into a classic tit for tat trade war. Who feels the heat more, China or US? Now, here's the real kicker. You might think these tariffs hit both the US and China equally, but in reality, China's dependency on the United States and overall reliance on trade is comparatively less significant. According to 2023 data from UN Comtrade, imports and exports contribute to just about 37% of China's GDP. The accompanying image illustrates that only 15% of China's exports go to the US, whereas the other 85% goes to other countries like Europe, Mexico, and Vietnam. China has been acting smart amidst US tariffs and expanding its trade relationships with other countries. So US-China trade has already declined over the years due to previous tariffs on Chinese goods. If we look at 2024 trade numbers from census.gov, the US exported $143 billion goods to China, whereas it imported $438 billion goods from China. That's a massive trade imbalance, and these new tariffs are only going to shake things up even more. What about Canada and Mexico? Now, if the 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico had actually gone into effect, it would have hurt them way more than the US. Why do I say that? Well, here's why. Canada sends 78% of its exports to the US. Mexico sends 80% of its exports to the US. But for the US, only 29% of its total imports come from Canada and Mexico. Basically, Canada and Mexico need US trade way more than the US needs them. And when it comes to US exports, 33% go to Canada and Mexico, so yeah, the US would feel some pain, but Mexico and Canada would feel it more. That last-minute delay, it wasn't really a win for anyone, despite how all three leaders spun it. It was just a way to cool things down for now. Over the next 30 days, negotiations will decide whether these tariffs actually get implemented or if a deal can be reached. The big question is, what concessions will Canada and Mexico make to fulfill Trump's interests? And if they don't, well, we might be looking at a full-blown trade war. Oh, and guess what? China just made its next move. They took this whole thing to the WTO. On February 5, 2025, China officially filed a complaint with the World Trade Organization, saying these tariffs break international trade rules. Basically, China is arguing that the US tariffs aren't really about fentanyl, they're just an excuse to protect American industries by making Chinese goods more expensive in the US market. They want formal talks with the US, and if that doesn't work, this could turn into a full-blown WTO dispute. So yeah, on top of this trade war, we might also be looking at a legal fight on the global stage. So, here's the bottom line. Tariffs on China are in place. China's retaliatory tariffs start on February 10, 2025. Canada and Mexico tariffs are on hold, but only for 30 days. So what do you think? Will this strategy work? Will Canada and Mexico do enough to avoid these tariffs next month? Or is this just a temporary pause before things heat up again? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you found this update helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.